So I am the ideal woman, and this is Manasi Scott. And I have a journey that I want to share with you, my journey with music. The chronicles of a software engineer turned singer. But before engineering, before those degrees, before almost 2,000 live shows across the world, I did start as a very small child right at the beginning. I had a very, very interesting childhood, and I'm really grateful because the kind of exposure I got growing up, not many people get. I'm an army brat. I'm born to two doctors who passed out of the Armed Forces Medical College. Straight A, super achiever parents. My father joined the armed forces. He just retired as the Director General of Military Services for the Army. My mother is still serving. She's a doctor. She's the director of Pune Hospital. And you know, India, mein, how it goes, if you're born to doctor parents, your career choices in those days, 20 years ago, were all only medicine and engineering. But in the early years, my dad did the cleverest thing. Wherever he was posted, he took us along everywhere. I spent my childhood growing up in the Himalayas, in tiny little towns called Pithoragarh in Uttaranchal, to studying, Pithoragarh, right? To studying for 2 years in Bhutan, to going down and studying in Chennai. And as a result, the more number of people you meet and the more you drive through the length and breadth of this country and the more you expose yourself to international and domestic cultures, you learn to start discovering the things that make you really happy. I decided singing was just in me. It was inbred. I won my first singing competition when I was 8 years old. Sang a song by ABBA called Move On. And though I've never really known stage fright, at that point in time, I think, because you're a child, you haven't figured out your personality. When you get onto stage, you start shaking, you get very nervous. I learned a very quick trick, and this is something all of you can use. When I was 12 years old, I did my first professional competition. To stop my knees from shaking, I would just walk on stage. And that just took away all the stage fright. And from then on, I think a performer was born. But unfortunately for us, in those days, entertainment, singing, music, they were never career options. I had parents who had played drums through college. My dad would have become a drummer, if not a surgeon. And I think they saw it in me to try and pursue the creative arts and having a strong background at home. I know parents all the time tell you to study hard because they don't know any better. But if you can actually find a balance between your extracurricular activities and the things that you're supposed to do, you'll live a very happy life. So very early on, decided to start singing, decided to start traveling the city singing songs. And before I knew it, I was doing it professionally for extra pocket money. I was doing amateur theatre with some of the best names in the country. I was singing songs with some of the best bands. Leslie Lewis had recorded me as early as when I was just 15 years old. But because you're born to straight A parents, you're straight A students. By the way, I got about 90% of my entire life. Now I know why I won the debating gold medals and all the elocution gold medals to come and talk to you guys here today, because I never understood why people debated and elocuted in college. I was a horse rider, national level basketball player, national level swimmer. I think my parents did the cleverest thing to keep me away from anything that would get me down was to just fill my days up with extracurricular activities, so I didn't get one moment to myself to fall off track and do something that I wasn't supposed to do, making up for it now. I decided to be a surgeon like my dad, and I used to watch operations that he used to do. He used to finish up 8-hour operations in a matter of 2 hours, and I've seen notes that people have written to him saying that he has the hands of God. And I always wanted to do that. I always wanted to have that kind of power. But your parents, if they know you well. My dad realized I was too emotional. I cry. If someone loses a book in a movie, if it's an emotional moment, I cry. So medicine is not for people who are emotional, and medicine is definitely not for people who don't have healing, in their bodies as a craft, because it takes a lot of power and it takes a lot of strength to be a doctor. Next best choice was to do engineering, so I got into software engineering, and by that time I'd watched Top Gun with Tom Cruise flying fighter planes about 135 times, and I wanted to be a fighter pilot. Now this excited my father, who had wanted this career for me in the arts or in something that was off the beaten track. So he actually went and spoke to a lot of generals across the armed forces across the world. And we found out that the Israelis had done a very crucial test, that women will never be fighter pilots because at a crucial instinct in the war, the maternal instinct takes over. Cut a long story short, Hiroshima, Nagasaki would never have happened if it had been a female fighter pilot because, we won't drop a bomb without reason. So there were in my dreams. I had a call letter from the Indian Air Force. I couldn't take it up because I didn't want to fly transporters. So sat down, had a chat with my dad, who was actually wintering over in Antarctica. Yeah, he's a crazy guy. He went with the 13th Indian expedition to Antarctica. Had a chat with him, and he was all for National School of Drama. But us zamane mein, you didn't get those sifarish wala letters. I didn't know people in the industry. And NSD required, a lot of input from famous people to get you into it. So the next best choice was Bombay. My dad was posted here, he was at Ashwini, and my two choices were in mass communication at that time. So there was Xavier's Institute of Communication and Sophia's. And being in a girls' school my entire life, the obvious choice was Xavier's. So that's exactly why I chose Xavier's, okay? Landed up there and I realized direction, anything to do with the visual arts, not my scene at all. I can't visualize. I got a -2 on 100 in a test I took for the visualization arts. Yeah, I did. They told me never be a gymnast and never ever take a career in anything remotely designing, interiors and films. And yeah, you laugh if you see my first few films. But then something magical happened. I had this incredible teacher called Vikas Desai. He's a current director as well, who actually called me up from my bench and put me in front of the camera and asked me to sing a song and then, act out some of these Shakespearean lines that I knew and some amateur theatre I'd done. And in front of the camera, I don't know what happened, but while he was going through filters on my face, A, apparently I looked very good. B, within me, I think that whole, full circle of being on stage for so many years just kind of came alive and I realized this is what I want to do. I want to be seen. I want to communicate with people. I want to act, I want to dance, and when I sing when I'm on stage, it's like a homecoming every time. I know I was born to do it, but it took me a lot of extracurricular activities, a lot of things to actually get in there. So we finished with Xavier's. I was doing, hosting shows, singing songs for extra pocket money, and my best friend, who's currently the fashion director of Grazia, India, was at that time learning fashion designing from the incredible Hemant Trivedi, who was not just the best choreographer and fashion director at that point in time, but also directing Femina Miss India, Femina Chrysalis. And suddenly, because of the way he heard my voice on the phone, I was hosting Femina Miss India and I was hosting Femina Chrysalis. And in those days, Bollywood had not taken over the fashion industry. Fashion was about fashion, music was about music. You were on stage because you were that good at what you did. So I was lucky because even the newspaper reporters at that time never wrote about news that you paid them for, but they actually wrote about how good you were, how well you sang, how good your songs were, and not just who you were seen with or who was standing next to you or which celebrity you were seen partying with. So I was lucky. Martin D'Souza took this article in Bombay Times when it had just started, and it was called "Scott on the Rocks. Watch out for this next big voice." But don't get me wrong, it's not always been hunky-dory. Though I started singing, I started hosting fashion shows, I was put down a lot. In India, if English is a language of communication and you don't sing Hindi the way you're supposed to sing classically trained, so my dad wanted me to learn classical music, my dad wanted me to pick up the guitar, but come on, 15 years ago, singing career would never happen. So I never learned, and I was told by some of the top music directors in the country who never gave me a playback song, that you're not serious about your craft, you're not serious about your music, because good singers and good music doesn't look this good. So if you're wasting so much time looking the way you do, then you're not good on stage. And all I wanted to do at that point of time was prove them wrong. So I stuck at it. I had very supportive parents. I took every show that came my way. It was work. I remember when Keki and Shan had just started singing and we were singing together. I used to sing for 5,000 rupees and they used to get 60,000 bucks. But I was on the same stage with the Taj as my backdrop, with the Falaknama Palace as my backdrop. We did some great, great shows all across the world. Do you want to say something? All right, now somebody help me with this clicker, because I'm going to share. That's the title of my speech. My journey with music: the chronicles of a software engineer turned singer. So, when I started singing with a lot of these well-known singers who were very supportive, you'll see some slides with Sonali also a little later. Some people really encouraged me. I could only do English singing because people told me, people who've grown up in convent schools can't sing Hindi songs. So it took me a lot of time to actually come into my own, start singing Hindi music. And then, so we start with, that's Mr. Bachchan with me. That was one of the greatest shows in my life. But there's a story to me doing IFA Awards with Mr. Bachchan and with a lot of the other stars for the first time. In 2005, because singing had become a career for me, I released a breakthrough album called Nachlae. I didn't know how to compose, I didn't know how to put an album together. And this was a remix market. Do you remember that song, Kaliyon Ka Chaman? So that was the kind of music that was being heard at that point in time. And all the music companies looked at me and said, you can't bring out an original song. But we went at it. We found a fantastic music director called Rahul Sood, and we released a song called Nachlae. Please go back onto my channel, watch it. It's still current. Channel V and MTV, music television that used to play music then, took that song to #1. I got my first 17-city world tour. When we went abroad, the Western world, of course, views talent with far more respect than this country. And that's not just because of them, but because of us as well, because we really got to learn about the dignity of labor. Be proud in every single thing we do, from the toilet cleaners right up to Donald Trump in America has tremendous dignity of labor. That's something I hope by the end of this speech, and I hope by the time you guys start working, you'll be able to impart with the regular people. So we went on a 17-city world tour, came back. I became the first Indian artist to feature on the cover of The Week in 2006. The first Indian artist, thank you. Thank you. And so far the only singer that's been featured on the cover of The Week. Thank you. I got endorsed by Reebok International. Endorsements for singers had not entered the country at that point in time. It was only cricketers. And for us, endorsements is very exciting because I used to get free clothes. And that was great fun, you know. Even now, I'll introduce you to another musician friend. We're still, now the endorsements are much higher amounts. I got endorsed by Sunsilk, which was a really big one because we did the international campaign before Priyanka Chopra came in, and I shot some fantastic ads in Chicago and in Paris. And this is 2005, and I'm shooting in Paris, and I find out I'm 3 months pregnant. I was married then. And that started a completely different chapter in my life because suddenly from, you know, the stage and traveling, you're suddenly pregnant with your baby and you're wondering what you can do. But my son turned out to be, his name is Zafan, which means God's treasure, turned out to be the biggest blessing in my life because it was such an amazing feeling that I actually started to sing for the love of just singing. I started composing songs myself. I had friends like Mika, Palash Sen, Raghav Sachar all come in and do songs on an album, which you'll get to hear now in a few months. I got pregnant and everybody thought I would stop singing, but I was singing till my 8th month, 25 kilos overweight. My gynecologist told me that if I performed in my 9th month, she won't deliver my baby. I've done shows in Chandigarh at my 8th month where I've landed up and there's an ambulance backstage and a gynecologist. And I was like, what are you doing? And they said, no, just in case you have your baby while you're singing. I said, get that out. So we've done crazy things like that. And by the time I had my baby, I was back. I was so excited. 29 days later, I was back on stage singing. My son entered the industry as a complete rock star because clients, you know, when you're 20 kilos overweight and you've got such low self-esteem about the way you look on stage, because a lot of being on stage is about how you project yourself and how you look and how you feel. I have so many clients and so many event companies to bless because they would give me tickets for my entire family, my maid, my sound engineer, my hair and makeup person, just to hear me sing. And I think that's the time you realize that you're good at what you do and that you start thanking God for the blessings that you have in your life. So right after that, because we gained a lot of momentum, this was the first big show that Wizcraft gave me. This was IFA. And of course, there are a few pictures over here. That's with Rakesh Omprakash Mehra. We did a festival for him, which I hosted. He had launched Rang De Basanti at that time. So we had a full festival for Rang De Basanti. I met the entire star cast. I was so inspired by that film. I thought used to have these cricket matches where, you know, all those years of playing basketball and Kho-Kho and cricket and football all came to the fore because you were playing celebrity cricket. I'm just sharing moments which I find that, you know, defined different career paths in my life. That was the third consecutive IFA that we hosted. So I did Macau, I did Yorkshire, and by this time I was hosting for Star TV. These were all these interviews that we were doing, and TV started up. You know, when Nachlae released, I was the villain in a TV show on Star Plus called Millie. I don't know how many of you saw it. Yeah, I was. But I chose my world tour over continuing with the daily at that time. So this was me getting back to TV. Rahman Saab, who I was a huge fan of. One of the nicest people you'll ever meet, and one of the few musicians I know that actually gives back and will never intimidate you, will tell you exactly, you know, whether you can make a career in music or whether you won't. Mandira Bedi was the only big name in cricket at that time. And I got a chance to host the Wisdom Cricket Awards at that time in 2003, which was, again, one of the most exciting shows. And after the Wisdom Cricket Awards, Shilpa Shetty got very famous with, what was the name of the show? the big brother. She was really bigger than the Bachchans in Yorkshire. It was quite a crazy moment. Shoaib Akhtar, Rawalpindi Express. I'm a very pro-Indian player, but this is one fast bowler that I loved every time I've met. You gotta say it, yeah? I mean, like, come on, when Sachin hit Shoaib for a six, we all screamed, didn't we? I mean, that was the six to hit, right? Not many of you will know these people, but if you watch Discovery Travel and Living, TLC, yes. So that's Ian Wright on the extreme right. He does a great show called The Globe Trekker. So this was another major moment in my career where we helped launch Discovery Channel in India, and we did the world tour, the country tour with them. We helped launch TLC in India with these fantastic people. That was one of my greatest moments. That is already. So I have to tell you, so these are defining shows in my life. I thought I'd share these moments with you, and actually share something else with you. And I hope as Gen Next, you will bring this about as a change in our country. I find international celebrities the most polite, the most courteous, and the most encouraging. This was Ficky Frames. I mean, Kumara Sangakkara, before leaving a show, will actually walk up to the person performing and say, "May I please leave? I have another appointment." I'm not going to name the Indian stars, but they don't even care whether you're on stage or not. They just learn a concept of getting rid of this chalta hai Indian attitude and start bringing in discipline and etiquette and love for the next guy in your everyday life. You'll find you'll be happy with whatever it is you're doing. So this, Ficky Frames, I walk on and I see Hugh Jackman. And I suddenly realized that he just hosted the Oscar Awards. And he was singing the song, he had sung the song I was singing. So I took a chance, walked up to the guy and I said, "Would you like to sing?" And he sang all that jazz with me. And then came backstage to actually congratulate me on the way I sung the song. So this was a great show in my life. And there's Shah Rukh Khan in the background. You can't make out, but he's there too. Alright, that man, even today, Sonu Nigam, he's one of the, if you ever come across and you want a career in music, this is a man who will sit down with you with a harmonium and teach there and then. He's that amazing a human being. I asked him to help me learn some classical music, and he said, "I'll only learn if you teach me English music." And I was like, to teach you? So he's one of those people who always share and always learn. This was a point in time in my life when he told me to start composing music. I just started getting out, writing my songs, and he asked me to get it out. So Ghulam Ali Saab, Rahul Dev's a friend. This, when I came back and I wanted to get back onto TV, so I'm just sharing shows with you, but I think the point I'm trying to make is that as a performer, never say no to any kind of work. Whether you're a singer, whether you're an artist, whether you're an actor, get experience, work in every field in life, earn whatever money you're getting, because work at the end of the day is work. And now this is getting very boring, but I'm just enjoying these pictures, so I'm just going to go through them. That's Richa Chadha. This is a recent show on TV called Ticket to Bollywood, which I hosted. Jackie Dada, who told me to start singing in 2001. That's what I was getting to. So we'll leave it at that. At Brett Lee, who I just recently sung with about 3 months ago. 3 months ago was, this Seattle Cricket Awards. So I had the good fortune of meeting a lot of people, being exposed to a lot of different formats of music, a lot of different formats of entertainment. And I can go on and on and on talking a lot, I've realized that. But I've decided, besides just talking to you about it, if there are questions, please ask me, because I'm just sharing a life story with you. And I'm hoping that I'm here today because icons, mavericks, geniuses, I'd like to think I'm all three, but definitely I'm one of the three, and that's why I'm here talking to you. I want to tell you that you guys are an inspirational generation. You're actually bringing about a change in the nation and the way people think. We're actually paving a way for ourselves, which is not aping the West entirely. I mean, I know it when we're doing fusion music, and I know it when I go to Delhi and I'm singing English songs. I have a #1 dubstep song right now. It's called High. It's in Amsterdam. And the reason it's gone to #1 there and it's climbing the charts on iTunes and Beatport when you go back and Google it is because of social media. So I want to tell all of you, inspire, be positive. It's very easy to criticize and bring someone down, but if you just decide to be positive, move forward, keep going forward, and do as much as possible. At this point in time, I didn't even know, I just knew engineering, doctorate, but I didn't know exactly what I wanted. So go out, play every sport there is to play, because being a sports person is going to help you get over lows. It's going to help you forget the defeat and move ahead and concentrate on the next win. It's going to keep making you try. Don't let anybody tell you The way to pray, the way to sing, the way to talk, the way to sit. Do it if your soul sings doing what you want to do. Go sing songs, go travel the world. I know a lot of people say at your age, in the Western world, it's easier because they paid a little bit more money so they can travel the world. But no more excuses now in India. I drive through India every year, 5,000 to 8,000 kilometers with my son. I've driven from here right up to Hemkund Sahib, which is in Uttaranchal, 18,000 feet above sea level. I've trekked up through glacier with my son, and I know how it's changed his mind and how it exposes him. So every holiday, get into a bus, get into a train, get into a car, drive the length and breadth of this country. If you can travel abroad, please go. Go to music festivals. Go see the cultures abroad, because people are happiest at music festivals. And they, when you're singing and when you're dancing, you can really figure out what life's all about. Find what it means to be really, really happy for yourself. It'll take you time. Who's that person who gave me that note to write? In 3,650 days from now, what will I be doing? I said, happy. He looked at me like I was completely crazy. No, ma'am, but what will you be doing? I said, I'll be happy. So then I had to add something. So you'll realize it, slow and steady. Our parents are doing the best they can. Our families are doing the best they can. So when they're telling you to study, trust me on one thing with experience. Along with the books, if you're doing everything else that makes you happy, it could just be writing 20 statuses every day on Facebook. But the writing will actually bring into tangible form the dreams and the thoughts that are in your head. So write positive, think positive, write a song, write a book, whatever it is, no one else is reading it. But try to discover yourself and try and inspire the next generation. Maybe you guys will be giving the next TED talk.